How would you describe Steph and Draymond down the stretch there tonight?
I've been watching them for 12 years. You know, there's a reason we have 4 championships, and it's the competitiveness, the heart, the will, and just it's been such a tough year. But to just show, what they're made of, what we're made of, and there were, a lot of guys who came through. So obviously the spotlight is on them because of everything they've accomplished. But I just told them it was, with all the wins we've ever had here, with a lot of them with a lot more at stake, this is right up there. Just because, of where we are and our age and our, the decline of our performance this year, the injuries, it was just a display of, just a beautiful display of competitive will, and this is why Steph came back. So everybody out there who thought Steph should have taken the rest of the year off, this is what he does. This is who he is. If he can compete, he's going to compete, and it was just incredible to watch.
You talked pregame about kind of the unspoken understanding, y'all are near the end. How much, down the stretch are you kind of thinking about that, and when you're celebrating, thinking about at least enjoying a night like this one more time? Just
all I'm thinking about is how proud I am of the guys to really show what they're made of, and the fact that we're still alive. We've got to go to Phoenix now and try to get another one, and get ourselves in the playoffs. But I more than anything, I'm just so proud of the guy. We must have been down double figures 5, 6 separate times, and we came back every single time we made a run. It was such an incredible display of guts and competitiveness and connection. And obviously Steph and Dre kind of took over down the stretch. Dre's defense, he's the best defender I've ever seen in my life. It's just insane what he does out there. The job he did on Kawhi. I thought our coaches did a really good job with the game plan to blitz Kawhi and try to put a crowd around him. And so the preparation was good, and the players really followed through. And for one night, we're us. We're champions again, and I know that may sound crazy to everybody out there. It's a play-in game. I don't care. It's just absolutely beautiful to watch.
Steve, you kind of answered some of it, but 21 points in 40 minutes for Kawhi with Draymond draped over him all night long. What were you seeing possession by possession from Draymond out there?
Well, Draymond, I think, is probably as well suited to guard Kawhi as any player in the league because of his strength and his brains and his ability to defend without fouling. And then I thought our guys did a really good job of helping and blitzing and just trying to make things crowded for him. Kawhi's been one of the best players in the league now for the last couple months. He's just been incredible. So we knew we had to make things difficult for him. And I thought we did as good a job as we could have. But Draymond obviously is the guy who allows for that game plan to work just because he can fight through every screen. He's so strong, he's so quick, gets back in front, and then just absolutely brilliant mind for defensive angles. And he seems to be in place before the other 9 guys on the floor over and over again.
We can kind of go down the list here of guys who just came up with big performances, but I'll start with Al Horford. What did he do in that fourth quarter to kind of unlock himself and hit those 3 straight three-pointers?
I thought what Al did tonight is one of the most difficult things to do in sports is when you're having a rough night through 3 quarters, to just flip it and all of a sudden start draining shots and making defensive plays. And he completely turned his own performance around, and it was kind of a perfect 1-2 punch with Kristaps and Al tonight. Kristaps kept us in the game with his scoring, his passing, blocked a couple shots. And then when it was Al's turn to come in, the way he just flipped the switch from what was a cold night to knocking down all those shots, the big 3 to give us the lead. Al was absolutely brilliant.
All right, it's time to Play Smart, brought to you by Xfinity. And how about this play by Kristaps Porzingis? Off of a missed free throw. KP's at the three-point line, gets a running start.
That's nasty, KP. Wow. That's like another turnover. That's what it is.
Fundamentals.
Extra possession.
Yeah. Got to box out.
Those are the things in playoff games that win you games, lose you games, and keeps you in games. Steph just talked about they were down double figures several times, 10, 13, 11, but they never gave up. And it's little baskets like that that let your teammates know we're gonna be in this till the end.
Well, let's talk about Kristaps Porzingis here, Fezzi, because he had made only one three-point shot in his last 15 attempts from the perimeter. Well, tonight he was 3 of 6. And you see why he could be so valuable for this franchise. The two-man game with Stephen Curry. A nice, efficient 8 of 12 from the floor, 20 points, the 5 assists, made some nice passes tonight, got Steph going on one layup, the 2 block shots. And you know what, Fezzi? He played 27 minutes and 37 seconds.
I thought KP was masterful tonight, Bonte. Started off the game a little slow. They put a small guy on Kristaps Porzingis. It took him a second to get in the flow, but once he did, and he was aggressive, it really, Steve Kerr just talked about the Warriors being down double digits several times. And some of those double digits was Kristaps really just being the mastermind behind it. He was the guy who was the facilitator. Steve Kerr played a stretch with Kristaps and DeAnthony Melton and Brandon Podziemski. Steph and Draymond went on the bench. And they made a run. This with Gary Payton, it was a defensive run. They went zone. Kristaps was at the back end.
Second
he was
quarter,
rebounding.
right?
I mean, that right there shows you what the Warriors can be. They've been able to play some games, some parts of the game with Steph, play some with Kristaps, play them together, play Kristaps with Al Horford. I mean, Steve Kerr now has pieces that he can use. I thought Kristaps was really influential. He showed you the influence he can have in the game with the Warriors tonight.
Yeah, great night for Porzingis. And I think, Bonte, you mentioned his assists. I think some of those assists were as big as his baskets. A few of them were late shot clock. He hit Steph one time on a backdoor cut. I think he hit Guy Santos, late shot clock. One time he passed up a 3 and hit one of his teammates for a layup. This guy can do everything. He's really, really skilled. Very encouraging. I think this is probably the most minutes he played all season.
Close to it. He played
minutes.
29 minutes against the Wizards.
So, again, the 8-man rotation, as Festus said, it's interesting. Of course, Steph and Draymond has that built-in chemistry. Al Horford and Porzingis. So it makes sense to scale that back. It's hard to have so many guys play and maintain some continuity, rhythm, and flow.
Kristaps Porzingis, what a night for him, for the Golden State Warriors. In the start, we question some of the starting lineup. Do you go Melton? Do you go Pods? Well, that's why Steve Kerr gets paid the big bucks, folks. Toyota poll question of the evening. Warriors' biggest X factor versus the Clippers? It happened to be Al Horford. He only received 6% of the vote. But I guess, KP, 50%. It's not really an X factor. He has to be a factor for the Warriors.
He's an option.
Right?
He's an option.
Anyone outside of Steph's an X factor.
Right.
So everybody,
Horford.
what's the combination right here? Bonte, do the math real quick.